Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Foreman, and this is the Ricky Carroll TMM. TMM stands for the Tuned Mini-Me. This board is a second generation, it might be a third generation, coming out of the PLB. So we talked about the Ricky Carroll PLB being the performance longboard. Then we talked about the Ricky Carroll Mini-Me being a scaled down version of the Ricky Carroll PLB. The TMM, the Tuned Mini-Me, was a result of a lot of Ricky's riders ending up on a Mini-Me, whether it be on purpose, by accident. It was the last board in the car, and they're like, wow, Ricky, this board really rips. I cannot believe how hard and how easy I could throw this thing around. What would happen if we took the round nose of the Mini-Me and then pulled it in? So basically kept the rest of the board the same, but in the front of the board, pulled it into more of a hybrid bullet nose. And that's how the TMM came about. When you're looking at this board, the very first thing you're gonna feel is the lightweight. A lot of these boards you're gonna see with an EPS foam core and then epoxy resin. Ricky does an incredible glass job of these things, really light, really strong. The next thing you're gonna see is that signature Ricky Carroll chine on the rails, like where you've got that break point about 3/4 of an inch in. Allows the board to have that width for the stability, for the float, for the paddle, but then have a water release earlier in on the board, and then allow the board to roll into that turn a lot easier. One, because you can roll over the chine, but also because the rail itself ends up being really thin. So the rail will hold better at high speeds, but it'll also be a lot easier to turn the board. Who is this board for? This board, it fits a really wide range of surfers. If you have surfers that are looking for a shortboard style performance, but significant easier paddling, and then also the ability to take one board through the widest range of conditions, this is a really good board to look at. The easiest way to describe Ricky's boards is he's not trying to make boards for micro steps of surfing to build like multiple, where you have multiple boards in a quiver. A lot of Ricky's boards, this one in particular, is you basically just buy it and you have a surfboard and you can go surfing in almost any day of the year, whether it be small waves or considerably big surf. Ricky himself, he actually surfs this board quite a bit in Puerto Rico on really good hollow surf, bigger size surf, and surfs it really well. But as far as who can use it, if you're looking at, you want shortboard style performance, but just a lot easier to paddle, this can be it. If you're coming down off of a longboard, if you surf a longboard a lot and you're like, hey, I want to get something that's shorter than a lot more maneuverable, this is a great step to take from a longboard because it's going to give you easy paddling and accessible performance without it being way too big of a jump. The lightness of this board is a big factor of it. For the people that are considering the board from the performance aspect of it, the lightness of it really allows you to really whip the board around in turns and not have it be, when you get into bigger boards like upper 6s and 7-foot boards, if it's a PU blank and if it's a standard polyester glass job with a standard glass schedule on it, you start getting into a pretty heavy board with a lot of weight really far away from you that's swinging through the turns, and so that it tends to really slow stuff down. But with this board, because it's got that lighter construction, but still the durability from the epoxy resin and a standard glass job, it makes it go through the turns a lot easier with a lot less swing weight. The overall look of the board is incredible. I mean, that was the first thing that brought our eye to it, even before we heard the story behind the board. having the width up forward here and then pulling back into basically your same tail that you see on the PLBs, on the like on a 9-foot PLB or on the Mini-Me's. The lines draw together really, really well. The performance of the board stands with the look of the board. You look at the board and it just looks good, and the performance of the board is good in a really wide range of surf. Looking at the fin setup, you're going to see a lot of the TMMs come with the 4+1. If you get a really big size TMM, you might see it with a 2+1, which would just be side bites forward and then a longboard fin in the center. But with most of the normal sized TMMs, you're going to see a quad plus that single fin center box. And so These boards come standard with a quad fin setup and ride really well as quads. You can also ride them, and the outline lends itself to being ridden as a single fin actually really effectively, and so they ride really nice as a single fin if you want to try that. And then also you can go with a little smaller longboard fin for the center, and then ride side bites in the front. Basically the quad is going to be the fastest and the most shortboard oriented of a feel. The single fin is going to draw everything out and slow everything down a little bit, just have everything be more smooth and fluid. The 2+1 is a nice balance between the two. Also the 2+1 gives you a real pivotal turn style, because you're pivoting off of that single center point in the center of the board, with still having those side bites for the ability to grab off the rail here and create more speed with the cluster of fins. So it's called the TMM. You're going to see this board in the upper 6s through the mid 7s. Again, it's based off the PLB, it's based off the Mini-Me, just with a narrower nose, and just what that does, it just makes the board less weight, less area up forward, less windage when you're dropping down the wave, fits into hollower waves better. It's not going to hook up with that big wide nose in hollow or punchy surf, and just a little bit more performance oriented. And again, defining performance, not having any of those things trip up on that wider nose, and then having the ability to throw it around harder in the turns. It's the TMM from Ricky Carroll. Any other questions on this board, check out the written review below this video at realwatersports.com/surfing, or give us a call at the shop.